The following video took place on March 12, 2014, and featured a young man in his apartment. He had moved into this apartment 2 years prior, planning to stay there throughout his entire time at university. He had made the decision to settle in this place, feeling comfortable and secure. However, little did he know, an event would unfold that would make him abandon it forever. This incident would alter his perception of the place and haunt him for the rest of his life. It all started on an otherwise normal day. He was sitting in his room, minding his own business. But what followed would completely turn his world upside down. After a heavy metal box fell off a shelf and crashed to the ground, everything went unnervingly silent. The man sat there in stunned disbelief, his mind racing, trying to comprehend what had just happened. How could something like that happen with no explanation, no wind, no external cause, no sign of any force acting on the object? For a moment, he sat there frozen in fear and confusion, unsure of how to proceed. This was an event that shook him to his core. It wasn't long before he made the decision to contact the landlord and inform him that he would no longer be paying rent. He explained that the apartment would be vacated within the week, and without wasting any more time, he moved in with his grandmother. The thought of returning to that apartment again, let alone staying there, was something he could never bring himself to do. The experience had left him unsettled, and no amount of reasoning could explain what had taken place. Children are often viewed as the most innocent and pure beings on the planet. It's this innocence that we try so hard to preserve and protect, shielding them from the darker aspects of the world. When children are exposed to disturbing or frightening experiences, such as paranormal activity or horrific imagery, the impact can be deep and lasting. This was the reality for a young boy named Thomas, whose story takes a terrifying turn in the next clip. Thomas was, by all accounts, a model child. Both his parents and daycare workers described him as an angel. He was kind, obedient, and never got into trouble. But what was about to happen to him was something no one could have foreseen. It was just after 1 p.m. one afternoon, and Thomas was playing with his new toys, blissfully unaware that he would soon become the center of an unsettling paranormal event.
And the green one. Come on up. Daddy. D-I-A-M-E-N. I just done family.
In the video, we see a bowl resting on a table, but then something strange happens. The bowl slides across the table on its own. There is no visible force acting on it, no strings or invisible wires pulling it along. It just moves. As the bowl continues to glide across the surface, it knocks something over, making a sound that catches the attention of Thomas's parents. Upon reviewing the footage from the camera, they were left horrified by what they saw. This wasn't normal, and they had no idea how to explain it. With no way to account for the strange movements, they decided to release the footage online, hoping for an explanation. To their shock, the video received significant backlash, with many accusing them of faking the entire thing. Viewers were skeptical, claiming that the video was too staged, too unreal to be taken seriously. But Thomas's mother refused to back down. She knew what had happened, and she wasn't about to let anyone dismiss her son's experience as a hoax. In response to the doubters, she released another video, filmed in the same location. In this second video, even more disturbing things happen. The items on the table move once again, and a loud bang comes from the door. This time, Thomas is visibly shaken. He now realizes that something isn't right, and he becomes terrified. Afterward, he struggles to sleep, and his mother permits him to stay home from school to recover. Sadly, we never receive an update about whether Thomas was able to move past this terrifying experience. But one thing is certain. This event left an indelible mark on the young boy, and for a time, his innocent view of the world was forever changed. While most of the clips I share on this channel are complex, requiring careful analysis to truly understand what happened, the next video is a bit different. It's a simple example of paranormal activity, but what sets it apart is the sheer volume of events that take place in such a short period of time. The activity in this house is so intense that it's almost overwhelming to watch. Even I had trouble keeping up with all the occurrences, and I'm sure you will too. The video shows multiple items moving across the room, chairs, books, and other objects shifting as if being moved by an unseen force. It's a chaotic scene, and there's little doubt that something supernatural is at play. But there's one moment that stands out in particular. Around 23 seconds into the clip, a dark object can be seen gliding across the screen. The way it moves is unnatural, almost ghostly. Many viewers immediately assumed that it was the figure of a ghost or a spirit. Of course, you can come to your own conclusions, but the movement was certainly eerie. The activity in the room was disturbing enough for the owners of the house to review footage from other cameras in the building to try and figure out what was causing the disturbances. What they found was even more unsettling than the initial footage. In one of the other rooms, a clock began moving on its own. The hands of the clock spun wildly, and the clock's pendulum swung back and forth uncontrollably. The homeowners later realized that this clock had been made by the father of the house, a clockmaker who had passed away several years earlier. The fact that this particular clock was acting up made the family wonder if the spirit of the father was still lingering, attached to his work. It was as though the father's spirit was still trying to finish his work, even after death. The connection between the father and the clock provided an eerie explanation, but it also raised more questions. Was the father's ghost still residing in the house? And if so, why was the clock malfunctioning in such an unsettling way? Our homes are meant to be places of refuge, places where we feel safe and comfortable. But when a house is haunted by a poltergeist or a restless spirit, it can feel anything but safe. Such was the case for a woman named Bethany, whose footage I'm about to share with you. Bethany had always thought of her home as a sanctuary, but that perception was shattered one Sunday morning. She had just finished getting her children ready for church, and everything seemed perfectly normal. But then something strange happened. The light in her room began to shake. At first, I thought it was just a slight nudge from Bethany, maybe an accidental bump as she was getting ready. But as the video continued, the movement became more pronounced. The light started shaking violently, and it was clear that something otherworldly was at play. The light then came to a standstill, and I thought the video would end there, leaving us with more questions than answers. But then, the light began to shake again, even after it had come to a complete stop. This confirmed that something paranormal was happening. It wasn't just a coincidence or an easily explainable event. The fact that the light shook on its own, without any external force, left little doubt in my mind that this was a real paranormal encounter. Schools are places of learning, activity, and laughter. They are full of life, with students and teachers going about their daily routines. But what happens when a school is empty, with only one person left behind? For the employee in the next video, that experience was both eerie and terrifying. This man had worked late at the school many times before, and he was used to the quiet, empty hallways. But on one particular night, something was different.
All right, I'm just finishing up putting up decorations for the students when they get back. I was on the smart board setting things up. I'm taking a step back, and you guys know me. I stay late often. It's just me here and the janitor, and let me show you. Do you see? I mean, is that not a kid sitting right there? That's it. Just me.
The footage shows a figure sitting at one of the desks in a classroom. This desk usually belonged to a student named Oliver, who was known for his strange behavior. Oliver spent much of his day shouting phrases like skibidi and rids, making his desk a somewhat unpleasant place to sit. So, when the employee saw a figure sitting on Oliver's desk, he wasn't immediately alarmed. But as he looked more closely, he realized that this was no ordinary sighting. The figure was not Oliver, it was someone else entirely. The employee later learned that a girl from the school had passed away just hours before the video was recorded. She had been hospitalized, and her death had left a mark on the school. The employee concluded that the figure he had seen in the classroom was the spirit of the girl, visiting the school one last time. The realization that he had witnessed something so profound left him shaken and unsure of what to think. Angel, a deeply religious woman, was a devoted Christian who believed in the teachings of the Bible. She also believed in the existence of spirits and the afterlife, so when she realized that she was being haunted, it didn't come as a total shock, but the experience still left her deeply unsettled. One evening, after tucking her children into bed, Angel sat down to watch television, thinking she would have a peaceful night. But that peace was soon shattered when she received a notification from her doorbell camera. What she saw was enough to send chills down her spine. On the video, a little girl in a white dress appeared in the door's glass. Angel watched in disbelief as the figure slowly vanished into thin air. The sight was enough to frighten her, and she decided to post the footage online, hoping for some insight or explanation. However, when she uploaded the video, she was met with a flood of skepticism. People accused her of faking the footage for attention, and many dismissed the sighting as a hoax. But Angel didn't let the critics get to her. Instead, she posted a follow-up video to defend herself.
Okay, so this is the area, the door that it was like standing inside. We don't have anything or keep anything in this area because it's a walkway and it would be really awkward. And then this is where the security camera is. So when I looked at the footage, I expected to see a person. I didn't expect to see that though.
In this video, she explained the events that had occurred and reaffirmed that the footage was real. This time, the response was much more supportive. People began offering advice and reassurance, and many expressed their belief in Angel's story. The overwhelming support from strangers gave Angel the strength to continue and helped her find peace amidst the fear. In the outskirts of New Mexico, something strange happened when a plastic bag was spotted floating in the sky. The residents of the area couldn't explain it. The bag wasn't moving like a typical plastic bag would. It wasn't being blown around by the wind. Instead, it remained perfectly still, suspended in mid-air. Then, in a split second, the bag disappeared into thin air, leaving the residents completely dumbfounded. They couldn't explain what had happened. Some theorized that the bag had disappeared behind a large dark object, but the residents insisted that there were no buildings or structures nearby that could account for the sudden disappearance. To this day, no one has been able to provide a reasonable explanation for the bizarre event. On October 17th, a security team was going about their usual routine, monitoring the building for any signs of trouble. They had been working together for 7 years and had seen very little action during that time. Their nights were typically filled with laughter and casual conversation as they watched the security footage. But this night would be different. At 10:23 p.m., everything changed. A white silhouette appeared on the security footage, standing by a door before vanishing in an instant. The guards were startled and rushed to check out the area, but when they arrived, there was no sign of anyone. The mysterious figure was gone, and the building was as quiet as ever. The footage captured the eerie moment, but the identity of the apparition remained a mystery. The guards were left wondering whether they had encountered something supernatural, and if they would ever experience another haunting event in the future.